Of Israel visiting the White House today, but Benjamin Netanyahu not happy with something the president said in his big speech yesterday. He said he supports a Palestinian state, but based on the 1967 borders before the Six-Day War, when Israel gained East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza Strip. He also said a future Palestine must be contiguous.
We believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps, so that secure and recognized borders are established for both states. The Palestinian people must have the right to govern themselves and reach their full potential in a sovereign and contiguous state.
Prime Minister Netanyahu says the 1967 borders are not defensible. Let's talk more about it. Joining us this morning to talk about the speech yesterday, Emily Cadei, former foreign policy reporter for Congressional Quarterly. Emily, good to have you back again. Let's talk first about the speech yesterday. Of course, the Israeli Prime Minister at the White House today. I'm guessing these two gentlemen will have a few things to talk about this morning.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that'll be among the things they have to talk about. The fact that Obama said it yesterday is a new step forward. I mean, no former president has said anything quite so explicit on the borders. So I'm sure that's ruffled feathers in Israel, and Netanyahu was very quick to get back and deny that that is in fact possible. So I'm sure he'll make that clear again in his speech. And then they have a whole other array of issues as well roiling the Middle East right now. So there'll be plenty to talk about.
Let's talk about the border issue first of all. How do we expect that to go over here in the United States? And of course, if we look at things politically speaking and through Congress.
Well, Congress has already reacted. I think most people have signaled that they don't support that move. It's controversial, but at the same time, there's been a sort of unspoken assumption for a while that that would have to be the starting point for negotiations. And I think that's essentially what the president said. It's just that any time a president says something so explicitly breaking with sort of the way it's been couched and the phrases that have been used in the past, it gets people's attention. But Congress, negative reaction overall, saying this is, not supportive of Israel and their needs and their defense needs.
More talk on Israel now because of this, which we have not had recently as much because there's been so much other activity going on around the Middle East. Anything else that will be on the table for discussion today besides that, or do you think that'll take up most of the talk between the President and the Prime Minister this morning?
That'll be a subject, but there's also just general concerns about the state of the Middle East peace process. Obviously, it's pretty much stalled. It's not going anywhere. And the latest development has been that the more moderate faction in Palestinian politics, Fatah, is now working on reconciling with Hamas, which the U.S. views as a terrorist group and views as just completely unable to negotiate with. And so if that reconciliation takes place, what does it mean for the peace process? What does it mean, obviously, for Israel, which does not support such a move? So there's a lot of thorny questions here that could make this process even more difficult than it already is.
President Obama, of course, talking yesterday about pro-democracy movements and what we have seen throughout the Middle East so far. Really, Egypt is the only nation so far where we've seen the leader that has basically been, taken out of power because of this pro-democracy movement. What support do we have now as far as the U.S. involvement in these nations as to moving forward?
Well, Tunisia and Egypt are the two where they have actually toppled their leaders. And Obama spoke yesterday very forcefully about sort of putting together some sort of economic package, because a lot of the issues involved with these countries are not just political, they're economic as well. They have very stagnant economies, and I think that's what brought people out to the streets initially to protest. As much as it was a pro-democratic movement, it was also a movement for jobs and economic uplift. So I think that is going to be our main lever to stay involved in this region, is really trying to promote economic ties, help them with their elections, but really sort of engage with the young people who are generally unemployed and try and find them opportunities in the future.
Two countries where there is still conflict. One is Syria. The president basically telling the president there, either let's do something or get out of the way and let the people decide what's going to happen. Possible U.S. involvement there, and then we'll back that up with what's happening and continues to happen in Libya. Yeah. Can we get support for more action in Libya, or is this something that's going to just kind of continue to fester for a while? Well,
he didn't say anything new about Libya today, so yesterday, I thought that was striking, that he really didn't seem to lay out any new plans. So I think it is something that's going to fester. They basically are assuming that Muammar Gaddafi, the autocrat there, will go, but they haven't really explained how. And he hasn't shown any signs of wanting to leave, so I don't see that going anywhere in terms of that conflict. In Syria, I think this rhetoric is starting to get more forceful. I think beyond that, there's not a whole lot the U.S. can really do. I don't think anyone wants to get involved in a military situation in Libya, because it's a completely different scenario and opens up a whole different can of worms.
Of course, the focus this morning at the White House is Israel this morning with Prime Minister Netanyahu. That meeting will be about 11:15 this morning. Emily Cadei with Congressional Quarterly, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Me.
Certainly appreciate it. 7:39 right now. Allison, back.